Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul manager questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, we have an exciting program for you as George talks to us about this recent signing of Vinny DiFazio by the LA Dodgers. He shares with us his NFL insights from this past weekend, and a mother seeks a little bit of advice from George about her Little League experience for her son. So let's get right to Strike Zone. We want to welcome back St. Paul Saints manager George Tsamis. George, let's first of all begin with some team updates.
Hi, how are you? It's a great day for Vinny DiFazio. He was purchased by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it couldn't happen to a better kid. And especially, Vinny and Angelo Sanko obviously getting purchased, a week apart by the same organization. It'd be great if they got to play together too. I hope they can break camp with a team, and it'd be neat if they were playing in Double A or Triple A together. But Vinny earned his chance just like Sanko did, and it's great kid, great attitude, and we're very happy for him, and we hope it works out for him.
Well, I know we had lots of questions related to after that news came out yesterday, but before we get to that, I just wanted to give you a little time here to give us our playoff predictions that you have for us for this weekend. So if we'll start with New England and Denver.
Sure. Well, obviously, I think I'm pulling for New England, and I think they're the better team, and so I'm going to go with New England, and then the other game, tough matchup as well, but Carolina's been great all year long, and they're at home, so I would have to say Carolina. So to me, it's a New England versus Carolina Super Bowl.
What was that, 2002 rematch? Is that right? Or 3, something like that?
Yeah, and that was a good game too. I don't remember the exact year, but that was a real good game. But Tom Brady is, the people that so many people love to hate, is just an outstanding player and just seems to get it done over and over.
5 Super Bowls, that would really be something for sure.
Yeah, he is. He is something. And before we get into the questions, I just want to congratulate Wichita manager Kevin Hooper on his new job with the Padres. It's a great thing for him, and it couldn't have happened to a better guy. And that's a guy that just gets it. He knows what independent ball is all about, and he may be the best guy in the business. He's been to the playoffs so many times, and the thing with him too, he's gotten so many guys signed with major league clubs over the years, and during the season too, when it hurts his team, and he does what's right for the player, and he still finds ways to have good teams and get to the playoffs. And congratulations to him, and he's going to be really good, at his new job with the Padres. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him coaching the big leagues in the next couple of years.
I know he's pretty excited about this opportunity, so it is congratulations to Kevin for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, let us start with our fan questions. Again, we had a lot of them that were related to Vinny after he was signed. So we'll first of all start with David from Bloomington, who asked, how do you think the loss of Vinny DiFazio will affect the chemistry of your team, and who do you see stepping up as the leader in your clubhouse?
You know what? He said he's a great guy to have in the clubhouse, a great leader, and he has that energy, that positive energy, a guy that cares about winning. So he'll be tough to replace, and but season's 4 months away, and we'll see who falls into our lap in the next few months. And right now maybe the roster looks a little light, but in the middle of January it's not that big of a deal. In the middle of May is when it counts.
Walt from Watertown would like to know, you have lost Sanko, DiFazio, and Suzalik, 3 of your very best players, and you have said you would not be surprised to see Crenshaw or Rotobaugh sign. How do you rebound from that?
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do, and losing Sanko and DiFazio, and obviously Ian Gack is retired, and obviously Mike Plotnicka retired, and David Espinoza, retired to take that scouting job. So, our middle of the order pretty much a lot of it's gone, and so we have a lot of work to do to try to replace those guys, and we're going to do the best we can, and we're confident we'll be able to find some good guys to replace them, and we'll put a competitive team out there.
When I've been reading these questions as they were sent in, I think fans didn't realize that last year's team you had to really rebuild from scratch as it was as well. So it wasn't like you came
Absolutely.
in December with a huge roster already.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? It's year to year. I mean, this happens. You know, in independent ball, this happens. You know, you're usually replacing half your team anyways every year, and but you know, people don't realize at the start of the season, or even most of the season, I think we only had one veteran hitter in the lineup. You know, with the veteran classification, that was Ian Gack, and we had a lot of other guys that had decent years, had okay years, and then we had them. You know, this past year, a lot of guys had great years. So it's every year you have to replace several guys, and we'll be able to do it.
I have no doubt about that. It's one of those situations that I've looked at where, I think really the only two guys. Well, you had traded for Gack or signed Gack a little bit later on, but you had just Vinny and Angelo. Didn't have any idea who your outfield was going to be at first, and you had to work and get a shortstop and third baseman almost right up to the start of the season.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing to lose guys, but obviously, I guess when there's such key guys and guys that are coming off great years, when you lose 3 or 4 or 5 of them, they're tough to replace. But like I said, we feel we're in the next few months we'll find some quality guys and put out a quality team.
Ben from St. Paul would like to know, do you feel a lot of added pressure for yourself now that you lost your 2 best hitters for next season?
No, not really. Pressure, it is what it is. It's the way it goes, and I've been doing this for a long time, and it's a big challenge to, get the players, and I really enjoy getting the players, and no, there's no pressure, but it's my job to put the best team out there, or put a competitive team out there, and to put a playoff team out there.
Ray from Minneapolis would like to know from you, do you change your strategy on how you build your team for next season after losing Angelo and Vinny?
You know what? No, we're just going to go after the best available players, and obviously after a year in our stadium, you can see it'd be nice to have maybe a couple extra left-handed hitters because the short right field, and that's something we would look at, but we're not going to pass up a quality right-handed hitter just to find a lefty. We're going to go after the best guys, and especially with our outfield last year, all 3 of them were excellent, and it's good to have speed in the outfield, and I think we were so successful too because we played such good defense too. So that's something that we're looking for. We're looking for not only the guys that can swing the bat, but guys that can play good defense.
Ian from St. Paul asked, and I wanted to, before I start on this, I believe that Joey Paciorek isn't signed yet. So the question is, does Joey Paciorek take on a much more active role for the team with Vinny gone, and how do you think he will handle that role?
Yeah, currently Joey Paciorek is not on the roster. There were several guys that were made free agents when the season was over. I can honestly say I'm not really sure how the catcher position is going to play out. I don't know if, I'm sure a lot of the fans don't realize about the veteran rule we have in our league. We can only carry 5 veteran players, and a veteran is a player that's played more than 6 years. So you can only have 5 of them. You have to carry 5 rookies if you carry 23 players. So those veteran spots are pretty delicate, and you got to be careful, who you bring in. And but we want to have a quality catcher. You want to have quality players all over. But I just don't know how it's going to play out with the veteran spots.
Dan from St. Paul would like to know, he hears Mike Veck talk about fun is good as his motto. How do you try to live that as a manager where wins and losses mean so much?
You have to have fun while you're doing it, and obviously when you win more, it's more fun, and when you lose, it's not so fun. But you know what? You want to have fun, go out there and play well, and put a good team out there, and winning makes it a lot more fun. So that's what we need to do.
You had 74 fun times last year for sure. So
yeah, it was good. It was good, and you know what? We've had some good times in St. Paul. We've had some good seasons, but we've had some tough seasons, and it's just. You just don't know year to year what's going to happen, but you go in every year with your goal to win a championship, and then get to the playoffs, win a championship, and so anything short of that, it's just not good enough.
Gabe from Rush City would like to know, Kevin Cravey looked so good at the end of the season for you last year. How do you think his role on the team will change for this year?
Yeah, he did a good job for the short time we had him, and he'll come in and hopefully be a big key to the back of our bullpen and get a chance to come in key spots. And you know what? The way it works is when that season starts, and as the season progresses, the better you pitch, the bigger spot you're going to pitch in. So it's up to each individual player. You go out there and do a good job, you're going to be in some tougher spots, and that's the way it should be.
I would assume he'll be kind of competing for the spot that Mike Zuzalik held last year.
Yeah, we have some openings in our bullpen, and obviously there's some jobs to be won, and but you just never know how this is going to work out. Yeah, he could be the 7th inning guy, he could be the 8th inning guy, but you just don't know. He may have an excellent year and be the 9th inning guy. I think when the season started last year, Ryan wrote about opening day or the first week of the season, he wasn't even the closer, and he ended up leading the league in saves. So, you just don't know what you have until you get there and you see, and things will play out. And again, the better you do, the bigger spots you pitch in.
Heading into our NFL questions for this week, we first of all begin with Valerie from Minnetonka, who asked, George, the Patriots looked so good last weekend, beat the hottest team in the NFL. With the way the Broncos offense looked, New England has to love their chances, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they're just an excellent team, and their defense doesn't get as much credit as it should. Their defense is pretty good, and you hear about Tom Brady and Gronk and how good they are and Edelman, but their defense is pretty good. And, like I said, I personally think the Patriots are going to win, but Denver is pretty good too, and Denver did beat them already, so it should be a good matchup. But I'm hoping the Patriots can go in there and win that one.
Quinn from Detroit Lakes asks you, Bill Belichick has to be considered the best coach of all times. Who else could be considered?
Yeah, Belichick is something else. Obviously there's been a lot of great coaches. I remember back in the Bill Walsh days with the 49ers, he was something else. And Chuck Noll back with the with the Steelers and the Steel Curtain, and back in those days was great. And as much as I just like the Cowboys, Jerry Johnson he got there and turned that organization around and put them in those Super Bowls, and so those are three guys right there that to me were excellent coaches. And you know what? Hopefully someday we'll be talking about Mr. Zimmer there with the Vikings, because he's done a good job with them and got them to win the division this year, and I think he's going to be a good coach for a long time.
Absolutely. Boy, he's done a great job with building that defense for sure.
Absolutely. And you know what? And Teddy Bridgewater is going to be good for a long time.
Nate from Anoka would like to ask you, I don't get why the Chiefs weren't acting with a greater sense of urgency in that game at the end. Clock management was terrible, don't you think?
Yeah, that did take them a long time to get in. I don't know the reasons of why that happened, but and then again, you sit there watching the games and you hear the analysts, they all said the same thing. They weren't moving too quick, so that's probably could have been handled better.
Jack from Hutchinson asked, George, did it surprise you how close the Steelers game was, considering they were missing their top receiver, their top running back, and their quarterback was hurt? It stunned me that Denver did not blow them out. How about you?
They nothing surprises me in the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody on any day, and the Steelers with Big Ben, he's one of the top guys out there, and so any game he's in, he can win. And they had that game. They had it. And they had the lead in the fourth quarter in Denver territory when that huge fumble happened, and after the fumble, it kind of changed things. And I was pulling for the Steelers in that game. They could have pulled it off, but when that fumble happened, it kind of turned that game around.
Our next question comes from Eddie from Richfield, who asks, I've heard a lot of broadcasters talk about how the Seahawks had to travel so much and how they were playing this game this last weekend at 10 a.m. Seattle time. George, does the time difference really matter that much to professional players, and why would travel mean so much when these guys have the very best of accommodations? Can you explain that one to me?
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and if it was a big deal, they could have just stayed out there. After the Minnesota trip, they could have just gone straight there, and I'm sure they went out a couple of days early. The players, sometimes the travel, it's tough, and if you find a way to get through it, and if they think that's tough, they should come on a bus trip with us one time, because there's some tough trips you get in at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then you got to play later on that day. So, and there's times that it's tough, but you find ways to get through it. And sometimes on a bad travel day, you go out and play your best game. So, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You get there, you take a nap, and then you're all good.
I'm curious from your standpoint, from the playing in the major leagues. So let's say that you're out in New York. And then all of a sudden you're playing in Los Angeles against Anaheim or against going out to Oakland to play the A's. Does it matter to you in your kind of internal clock that all of a sudden you were playing at what would be 7 o'clock your time for Minnesota that you were used to, and all of a sudden you're playing at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, no, there's times like that. It was tough. I remember there was a time. I think we had a trip when I was with the Twins. We had a trip from Toronto to Oakland one time, and it's tough too. And then when you get to the West Coast, let's say you're waking up at your normal 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's really 4 o'clock in the morning out west, and so sometimes that's tough to adjust to. But again, the professionals, and they find ways to get through it. And it's like I said, just gotta make sure you get that nap in, and you'll be good.
Frank from St. Louis Park would like to know from you. Wow, Carolina was so good on Sunday. Are they just that much better than Seattle?
They've been great all year long, and it was their day on Sunday. They've been great all year. But you know what? If they played next week and it was in Seattle, then it wouldn't surprise me if Seattle, won. It's the way it goes. They were the better team by a lot Sunday, and but again, though, all year long they've been an outstanding team.
Barry from Oklahoma City would like to know from you, which is a better storyline for you? Manning with a chance at a Super Bowl before he retires, Brady giving the NFL the finger if he wins the Super Bowl, or Carson Palmer finally healthy enough to get a chance to go all the way?
Yeah, I actually laughed out loud at this question when I first read it. For sure, the Brady one is my favorite. It was a good one. And, like I said, I'm pulling for them, so I would love Brady get it done again. As much as so many people want to see them fail.
I want to see Roger Goodell having to hand him the championship trophy. I think that would be awesome. So
that would be outstanding. Well, you know what? There you go. That's something to look forward to. But you know what? I don't know if he would do it. He'd probably have somebody else do it to him.
Yeah, I'm sure. Our last question for this week comes from a person identifying herself as Mom who needs help. She says, George, my son had a really hard time in baseball this last season. He is an okay player, but he gets nervous at times, and the more nervous he is, the more mistakes he makes. The kids on the team were more understanding to him, but the parents were ridiculous. My husband nearly lost it at some of the games last year. How can I help my son to be more thick-skinned, and maybe my husband too, and is there a way to do something that you would suggest to talk to the parents to get this kind of behavior under control?
Well, first, as a player, I know they're young, but first thing, they need to have fun. They need to have fun, go out there and enjoy yourself, and throughout your career, if you're 7 years old, you're 10 years old, you're in high school, college, whatever, there's going to be plenty of times we're going to fail. We're going to go 0 for 4 one day, maybe the next day we'll go 3 for 4. It's part of it. Go out and have fun, but you do have to want to be there too. But the kids, they need to want to be at the field, and it's good to. I don't think they should play 12 months of the year or 11 months of the year. I think it's good to have time off of playing because you want them to miss it. But you've got to make sure you have fun playing. From the parent standpoint, yeah, I've seen it. There's times some are out of control, and it just you just wish that they would just lay back and just watch the games and try to keep their mouth shut. But some people are out of control, and I've seen it firsthand. And my daughter was coming up in high school, and you see it, and it's unfortunate to see the behavior of some of the people. You go away scratching your head, and you can't even believe some of the things you hear.
Is there a suggestion that you would have that maybe she could say to parents, or how she could go about trying to get them, to understand that this is wrong?
Well, you know what? In the world we live in, yeah, you can go up there and say something politely and try to suggest something, but each person, they're going to act the way they want, and they may be receptive to it, or they may tell you off. That is a tough one. You hope you have the right parents, and you hope you have the But again, I understand what you're saying because I've heard it. You're sitting there watching your kid play and listen to other parents on the other team rag your team and rag your kid, and sometimes it's tough to keep your mouth shut. And but I don't know. You can go over and say something politely, but you don't know that person. They may be receptive to it, but they may tell you to take a hike.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, George, for joining us this week.
Okay, thank you very much.
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show on Monday. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Strike Zone.